Don't settle for bad socks. Get comfort and grip at an affordable price with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Choose from 18 different colors at puregripsocks.com.
What's so special about the football boots Toni Kroos has worn for 11 years straight? Well, very little, or should I say very little that would appeal to the younger demographic, which I think is who all the big brands are after, in the sense that from a tech standpoint, there's almost no tech in this modified variation of the 11 Pro 2 that originally launched back in 2013. With this white and gold pair being a little bit different from his usual white and blue in that it's a tribute to his entire career, because after the Euros, he'll be retiring from professional football. Although it must be said, these aren't exactly like the boots that Kroos himself actually wears. Adidas did drop a super limited amount of them only in his size last year, along with his traditional white and blue in this particular variation as well, where this white and gold one dropped about a month ago, was on pre-order for a long time. Pairs are now starting to ship out. However, unfortunately, they sold out pretty much instantly and were limited to just 5,000 pairs worldwide. With that said, now that we have a pretty good example of what Kroos has worn for the majority of his career, something that we really haven't seen any other player do in the same time frame, I thought it'd be cool to take a closer look at these boots and discuss what makes them so special. And really quickly, before we get into the video, drop a like if you enjoy the content, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2024. So first things first, it must be said, this is not the sole plate and stud pattern that Kroos himself has worn on his boots throughout basically the majority of his career. On the actual Kroos boots, you're going to find a solid plastic sole plate and that bladed TRX stud pattern that was kind of made popular on the Predator series, but was also used in the days of the Adipure, both football boots that Kroos himself wore during his professional career up until 2013, when Adidas launched the 11 Pro 2, which, as you can see, features a very different sole plate and stud pattern from what Kroos had been wearing. Obviously, he was a big fan of that and just decided to get a custom sole plate on the latest upper, or at least a variation of the latest upper, which is still something that we see so many pros do to this very day. He's just the one guy that never ever changed. As for the upper of the 11 Pro 2, it must be said that the original pair was not a very popular pair of football boots. The 11 Pro series in general, certainly the original, not very good. The 11 Pro 2 was admittedly a big improvement, but compared to other boots that were on the market at that time, this was not one that was selling very well. So it makes it even more interesting that now that we're 11 years on, there is so much demand for a pair of football boots that nobody wanted when it was a current model. Nonetheless, while this, I'm sure, is not to the exact spec of Kroos's custom-made boots for himself, what you're gonna find in this kind of modified variation is a much more simple take on the leather upper that was found on the original 11 Pro 2, which was also pretty simple, but it had a little bit of extra foam in the liner on the inside, which made it just a little bit stiffer and a little bit more kind of dampened in terms of touch on the ball. It's actually a fairly thick upper compared to most leather football boots, which you either would love or hate, but in the case of Tony's pair, they're just straight leather all the way through with no real modification. As far as the type of leather is concerned, Adidas at this point in time was using what they were calling Taurus leather, which was basically just calfskin with a fancy name because of the treatment process. I can only assume these are the same calfskin leather, given that Adidas has not specified the type. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony's actual boots are made from kangaroo leather, although, like I've said so many times on this channel, the type of leather doesn't matter nearly as much as the overall quality of it. And the quality of this leather is really, really nice. Soft all the way through and pretty much leather across the entire foot. No changing of materials whatsoever, even in the tongue through the midfoot. So in terms of consistency of touch, something that obviously was very important to him, you get the same feel no matter what part of your foot makes contact with the ball, which these days in the world of football boots, given how much they go for multi-material designs and adding structure in certain places, taking it away in others, this is a little bit of an oddball compared to most of the new stuff currently on offer from Adidas, Nike, Puma, whoever it may be. Across the top of the foot, you'll find a traditional U-throat construction with a standalone tongue, a nice deep central lacing system that allows for plenty of adjustability. Of course, the boots maintain a low-cut construction with just very little structure back here, something that is going to be typical of a lot of pro-issue football boots. They're just a lot softer at the back. I'm assuming for the sake of comfort for guys that want to swap into new boots more frequently. Tony obviously not being one of those players. What's also kind of cool about him is that even though he's worn the same boots for such a long time, he actually wears the very same pair basically until they're worn into the ground. He does not seem to be one of those players that wants to switch into a new pair at all, let alone a new pair of basically the same model. Internally, the heel is lined in this really soft microfiber material. I would say there's minimal padding back here, but enough to where they're very comfortable, and it also features standard insoles where you're gonna find that, again, most pros have some kind of custom insole in their boots. This is very similar to other Adidas insoles in that it's this soft microfiber liner on the surface, and then it's made from a single layer of this white foam, where you can see the insole on the right boot has Tony's signature as well as the 11 Pro logo, where the left boot just features the Adidas logo. And then of course there's the weight, where obviously these aren't to player spec of what Kroos actually wears, but I thought it'd be interesting at least to compare this very simple upper to what would be kind of the mainstream offering in this category from Adidas in the Copa Pure 2 Plus, especially given that these two have the exact same sole plate. So both in the same size 9.5 US. We'll start off with the Copas, super underrated boots by the way. They weigh in at 8 ounces exactly, the equivalent of 226 grams. Remember those numbers. We'll change the scale back to ounces and we'll throw on the 11 Pros, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.5 ounces, the equivalent of 213 grams, which is a weight difference of about 13 grams in favor of this 11 Pro remake, where given that these two boots have the exact same sole plate, it's kind of interesting to me that this modern boot with its leather fusion skin prime knit upper actually weighs a little bit more than this 11 Pro remake, where the upper is just straight leather, pretty much as low tech as it gets by 2024 standards. On feet, what more is there to say other than these are soft, simple leather football boots? It's one material throughout the entire upper with a U-throat construction, standalone tongue, nice deep central lacing system, a low-cut design, and what is admittedly not the same sole plate that Tony himself wears, but a very simple plastic one, giving this boot overall a more flexible feel. It is as no nonsense as a football boot can possibly be, and very comfortable for it. They are the perfect example of it's the player, not the boots. Of course, as I talk about on this channel all the time, personal preference is a big part of football boots. If you like the way that they fit and feel, I think that's going to lend itself well to you performing optimally. And obviously in the case of Mr. Kroos, I think it's very cool that basically 11 years ago, he got a custom pair of boots and decided, this is it. This is as good as it gets. I will never need to change my boots ever again. All I'm concerned about from here on out in my playing career is actually playing. Where of course everyone is a little bit different, but for those that love to ask the question, should I get a pair now or wait for the new ones because they might be better? The new ones aren't necessarily better in the sense that they aren't going to make you a better player. As far as the overall fit and feel is concerned, given that these are sold out, it's really not super important unless you're going into the resale market and paying some ridiculous prices, but overall, they fit a little bit slimmer through the midfoot than what you're gonna find in the heel, forefoot, and toe box area, but because they are leather all the way through, very soft leather at that, they are going to stretch as you wear them in, with of course that current Copa sole plate originally taken from the Nemesis, just generally feeling pretty solid underfoot. I would say it's one of those football boots that's going to work for the vast majority of people after some wear time, even if you do have wide feet, just because of the more traditional upper construction. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you are looking to get a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So what makes Toni Kroos' custom 11 Pros so special? Well, it's the fact that they're the perfect boots for him. In a lot of ways, this Custom 11 Pro is the anti-modern football boot in the sense that it proves that you do not need the latest technology, the latest designs, the latest whatever it may be that these big brands are pushing on us in all of the marketing that they spend millions and millions of dollars on. If you get a good pair of football boots that you like the fit and feel of, you can perform at the absolute highest level.